Hi everyone, this is Miss Davenport. You're watching another wonderful Dudley biology video, and this time we're talking about cell transport. So we all know that transport means movement. We transport ourselves by walking. We might ride a car, we might ride a bus, an airplane, a train. We might swim to get places. Any way we do to get from one place to another. Cells have to get things transported as well. Things have to get in cells. Things have to get out of cells. And move in and out of different cells. So we're going to talk about how that happens. We already said that we use some different things like cars. Cells use what's called the membrane, the phospholipid bilayer. You may also hear it called as due to the structure. These heads right here and tails, the heads are made of phosphate and the tails are made of lipids. So that's where those terms come in, and we're going to talk about that in more detail after this video. First, we're going to talk about the different types of cell transport that you need to know about. Cell transport is all about maintaining homeostasis. You may have seen this word when we did already talk about the membrane. We talked about, if you looked up the definition in the book, it said that the job of the plasma membrane was to maintain homeostasis, and what that is just balance, keeping a constant environment. Our temperature, for example, in our body, 98.6. That's something we want regulated. It can fluctuate a little bit, but for the main part, we want it level at that temperature. So these are what your notes actually look like. There's two types of cell transport we are going to talk about, and during this whole duration of me talking about the difference between these two types, I want you to think about going two different things, going up the stairs and going down the stairs. So everybody knows when you go up the stairs, it's a lot more effort. It causes a lot more energy. If you got the cafeteria and you're at lunch and you got to come all the way back up to the top floor, you're going to be tired because you're using energy to go up those stairs. But when you have to go down to the cafeteria from that top floor, it's no problem. You just go right on down the stairs and you get your food and you're good to go. So think about that. The two types we have are passive and active. We're going to talk about passive. Oops, I keep hitting the wrong button. Passive first. So passive transport, that's when you're going down those stairs. It requires no energy. Passive transport, things can move right on through. Think about having a VIP pass or something at a concert, at a club. You can go right on through. Nobody's going to stop you. You just flash that badge. You go right on through. So this is going to be from a high to a low concentration. Nice, natural, with that concentration gradient, not against it, no energy. It's like if you spray perfume in a room. So I spray it here at my desk. There's a whole bunch of those perfume molecules right where I sprayed it, and it's going to try to do that homeostasis thing. It's going to try to balance things out, and it's going to spread out into the room until there's an equal concentration everywhere, and everybody's going to smell it, and eventually those molecules are going to be so far spread apart that you're not even going to be able to smell it anymore. High to low, passive transport. There's no energy, there's no ATP involved in that. And there's three types of passive transport that we are going to talk about. The first one is simple diffusion. So you think about things that are simple, they're not that difficult, they're pretty easygoing. Simple diffusion is when things just go right on through the membrane. They don't need help from a protein, they don't need energy because we are just talking about passive. They go right on through. So substances cross through the bilayer, through the membrane. So these substances might be, water, but that would be a different term. Could be salt. Okay, just anything that's relatively small, simple, moves right on through. So with your picture, you have a lot of your solute, or whatever's getting through, might be salt, and you have a lot more on the outside of the cell than the inside of the cell. Nobody wants to be on the outside of the club. They want to be inside. They want to be in here where all the action is going. So all these people out here are going to try to get into the club. But what happens? You have a cap. You have a maximum capacity that the club can handle. Once it's full, no more people can get in. Okay, so it's about maintaining that balance. Every single one of these dots is not going to make it to the other side of the cell. Once it reaches the max, it's going to cap out. Okay, it's about things keeping balance. We don't want all of these dots to go all the way over to the other side of the cell. Okay, we just want it to be equal. So we've got 3 dots here, we got a whole bunch more than that. We want to kind of even it out. That's simple diffusion. They got the VIP pass, they're going to go right on into the club. Then you have facilitated diffusion. So these people need a little bit of help. Maybe they need some connections, they need some friends, they need to know the bouncers, whatever. But they gotta have a little something extra. Gotta look nice, whatever it is, you know, just a little skanky, whatever they gotta do to get in the club. But they're not just gonna be able to get on in like that. Okay, so they're gonna move through a protein channel. You have proteins that are embedded in the membrane to help substances cross. It's still high to low concentration. There's still more molecules going to where there's less of them. Okay, so let's say this is glucose. Glucose is kind of big. It's not going to be able to get right on through, and it's going to have to work a little bit, or not really work as an energy, but it's going to have to go through something else and not on its own. So that's facilitated diffusion. Lastly, we have osmosis. That's just the movement of water, so it's specific to that. Water's going to cross through that membrane. It has its own special term because water is so fancy. So it's over the VIP thing. It's over everything. It doesn't need help. Water even has its own term. It can get in that club any day, all day, every day. Okay, so once again, high to low. Going down those stairs is no energy. The next thing we have to talk about is active transport. That's when we're going up the stairs. So we got to use that energy. We got to get our bodies up there. So active transport requires energy. That energy is going to be in the form of ATP. It's what's made in our mitochondria of our cell. So it's the opposite. We're going low to high, bottom of the stairs to the top of the stairs, and that requires energy. So things are going to go through the cell, but it's going to be kind of backwards, low to high, so that requires energy. And it's typically going to have to be through a protein, and these are things like sodium and potassium pumps, where those proteins are literally using energy and pumping those substances in and out of the cell, like a sodium potassium pump. Okay, so once again, in passive, we go from high to low. Top of the stairs to the bottom stairs, easy, no energy. Active transport, we go from the low to the high. We're going from the bottom of the stairs to the top, and we know we're going to get a workout. Okay, so that is this portion of cell transport. There's another video that's going to talk to you about the actual problems that you're going to see on tests and quizzes. Before we get to that, I'm going to go over one more thing. You noticed I didn't address this, okay, because these two types are pointing to this. This is going to show you the difference between the movement that we're talking about. You need to be able to distinguish where your high concentration is and where your low concentration is. So the high concentration is going to be right here. This is where you have more dots, more substance, more salt, more sugar, whatever it is. Over here, you have less. So on this side, we're going to call that our high concentration. High concentration. So on this side, we have low. So if we're dealing with passive transport, that goes from high to low. So things are going to move to the right with your passive transport in this particular picture. Active transport is low to high. So it's going to go, oops, I keep doing that. It's going to go to the left. Now that's not always the case. It's not always going to go to right or left. So don't memorize right or left. Memorize high to low, passive, low to high, active. And hopefully you learned something. Cell transport is a little confusing at first, so be sure to watch the other cell transport video to get a better idea of osmosis and how things move and what controls if a cell is going to grow or if it's going to shrink. Thanks for watching. You guys are awesome.